At Christmas dinner, my dad insulted my son. He didn't expect what came after. The night the harmattan wind swept across our village, carrying dust, memory, and unfinished truths, my family gathered under the old baobab-shaped roof of my father's compound. Christmas dinner in our home was never just a meal, it was a battlefield wrapped in bright cloth and fake blessings. Drums echoed from nearby houses, children laughed in the distance, and roasted goat filled the air, yet inside, my father's voice sliced the warmth like a spear. He looked at my 10-year-old son, Kofi, with eyes that held the coldness of a drought. "A useless boy who will never amount to anything," he muttered, loud enough for every soul at that long wooden table to hear. The spoons froze. My sisters lowered their eyes. Even the lantern flames trembled. Kofi's small shoulders stiffened. His smile died like a candle starved of air. I felt something ancient awaken inside me, an anger older than the rivers, sharper than the hunter's blade. My father had mocked me for years, but insulting my child? That crossed the line carved by all ancestors. I rose slowly, my chair groaning across the floor. My father smirked, expecting my silence. But this time, the winds of the ancestors were on my side. And he had no idea what storm I was about to release. Cliffhanger. I opened my mouth to speak, and the entire compound fell silent, waiting for words that would change our family forever. Backstory: the wounds my father thought I forgot. Long before that Christmas night, my father carried a tongue sharpened by pride and a heart hardened by disappointment. In our village, he was known as a man whose shadow demanded obedience. People said he walked like a chief, spoke like a judge, and loved like a man counting debts. But his harshness always fell hardest on me. When I was a young girl, he would say, "A daughter is a temporary guest. Invest only in sons." Yet it was I who hauled water, tended the goats, and worked the farm beside him before sunrise. My brothers disappeared into their own freedoms, but I stayed, planting strength where he planted doubt. When Kofi was born, I swore the cycle would end. No child of mine would grow under the weight of cruel words. No son of mine would shrink to fit someone else's bitterness. But my father didn't see it that way. He resented that Kofi resembled my late husband. A man my father claimed wasn't worthy because he came from a rival clan across the river. Every visit to the compound became a test of patience. Every gathering was another chance for my father to let his disdain drip like hot oil. But Kofi, gentle and wide-eyed, always forgave him. Until that Christmas. Because when my father insulted him in front of the entire family, I saw something break inside my boy. Something fragile that should have never been touched. That was the moment I knew. This story would not end in silence. Not this time. Rising conflict, the fire beneath the table. As the insult echoed through the compound, I felt the drums outside slow, as if even they sensed a storm unfolding inside our walls. Kofi stared at his plate, his small fingers trembling. My sisters exchanged quick glances, they knew that look in my father's eyes. It was the same look he once used on me. My father leaned back, satisfied, and tore into a piece of meat. "A boy who cannot even climb a mango tree without crying, what future does he have?" he added, shaking his head. The guests tensed. My aunt whispered a prayer under her breath. My eldest brother cleared his throat, trying to change the subject, but my father raised his hand sharply. As if silencing an entire courtroom. He enjoyed this. He enjoyed the power. He enjoyed watching people fold beneath him. I placed my hand on Kofi's shoulder. He looked up with watery eyes, trying to be brave. "Mama, why does Grandpa hate me?" he whispered. Those words struck harder than any spear. I stood slowly again, and this time my father's smirk faded a little. He had expected my usual silence, my old obedience. But not the woman I had grown into. "You will sit," my father ordered, voice rising. But the wind through the open windows carried a different command. One from others before me, from ancestors who had endured enough. My heartbeat grew steady. My voice rose like a drumbeat. And for the first time in my life, my father felt the ground shift beneath his authority. Cliffhanger. I looked him dead in the eye, and everyone leaned forward, waiting to hear the words that would burn through generations of silence. The lantern flames wavered as if the ancestors themselves leaned in to witness what would happen next. I kept my gaze locked on my father, steady, unblinking, unafraid. "Why do you speak to my son as if he is your burden?" I asked. Silence spread through the room like spilled palm oil. My father's eyebrows shot up. No one challenged him in his own compound, especially not a daughter he believed was still the timid girl he'd shaped from fear. He slammed his fist on the table. "Because the boy is weak. Like you were weak. A disgrace to this family." Before he could finish, Kofi flinched so hard his chair scraped backward. My father laughed, a sharp, cold laugh that cracked something inside me. Then he did the unforgivable. He pointed at Kofi and said loudly, "Look at him. Even the chickens outside are braver. He will never carry this family name with pride." A gasp rippled through the crowd. My aunt covered her mouth. My brother mumbled, "Father, that's enough," but my father snapped at him too. Then, as if humiliation weren't enough, he took a piece of roasted yam and tossed it toward Kofi. "Take it," he said mockingly. "Eat, boy. It may give you strength." The yam hit the ground before it reached my son. Kofi's lip trembled. His eyes filled with tears he fought hard not to spill. And in that moment, the room no longer felt like a home. It felt like a battlefield where innocence was slaughtered. I stepped forward, the harmattan wind howling behind me. My father smirked again, still unaware that he had just shattered the last piece of restraint I had. Cliffhanger. I lifted the fallen yam in my hand, and what I said next made every single person at that table sit up straight, their hearts pounding. I crouched, picked up the fallen yam, and held it gently, as if honoring something my father had tried to shame. Kofi watched me with wide, confused eyes. Then I rose slowly, facing my father. Everyone leaned in, breaths held. "Strength," I said softly, "doesn't come from shouting, beating your chest, or tearing children down." My father scoffed. "Spare me." But I raised my hand and the entire table fell silent. "Strength," I continued, "comes from lifting others. From raising a child with dignity, not fear. From being a man who builds rather than breaks." My father's face reddened, but I didn't stop. "You call my son weak," I said, "yet it is you who cowers behind insults because you fear the world changing. You fear losing control. You fear facing the truth." Murmurs spread. My sisters shifted uncomfortably. My brothers stared at their plates. "You mock Kofi for not climbing mango trees," I said, voice rising, "but you forget that he reads better than any child in this village. He fixes radios, builds toy cars, and dreams with a mind sharper than a blacksmith's blade." My father's jaw tightened. "You call him a disgrace," I said, "yet the only disgrace tonight is a father who humiliates his own blood for applause that never comes." A stunned silence swallowed the compound. Even the wind seemed to pause. My father's eyes blazed. Not with strength, but with the panic of a king whose crown had just been questioned. Before he could speak, I took Kofi's hand. And I said something that made every elder at the table sit up straight. "Tonight, we break this legacy of cruelty." Cliffhanger. My father rose from his chair, slowly, dangerously, preparing to unleash a wrath the family had feared for decades. The clash, when the old world collided with the new. My father rose with the slow, deliberate posture of a lion disturbed during its meal. His chair scraped loudly across the ground, echoing like thunder in the tense silence. His chest heaved. His eyes were sharp, burning, not with righteousness, but with a wounded pride that could topple villages. "You dare challenge me," he growled. "I have led this family for 40 years. Who are you to question me?" The elders shifted nervously. No one had ever pushed him this far. But I tightened my grip on Kofi's hand and stepped forward. "I am your daughter," I said, "the same daughter you dismissed as weak. The same daughter who built a life without your help. and I will protect my son even if I have to stand against you." A sharp murmur ran through the crowd. My aunt whispered, "The ancestors are watching." My father jabbed a finger at Kofi. "That boy will bring shame to this family." I stood taller. "No. That boy will break this family's curse." My father's face darkened. "Enough. You will apologize. Now. Or you and that child will never step foot in this compound again." For the first time, Kofi squeezed my hand. Not out of fear, but out of courage. I felt the ancestors behind me. I felt every mother who had swallowed her voice. I felt every child who had swallowed their tears. Then I spoke with a calmness stronger than any shout. "If leaving is the price of protecting my son, then we will walk away tonight." Gasps erupted. A plate fell from someone's hands. My father pointed to the gate. "Go, then." But he didn't expect what would happen next. Cliffhanger. From the corner of the compound, an elder, one of the oldest and most respected in the clan, stood up and said words that froze even my father in place. The ancestral judgment, when the village spoke. The elder who rose was Nana Kwame, the oldest living out of our clan, a man whose words carried more weight than any title my father held. His walking stick tapped the clay floor as he stepped forward, and the entire compound bowed their heads out of respect. "Nana, this is family business," my father muttered, trying to recover his authority. But Nana Kwame lifted his hand, silencing him with a single gesture. "Family business becomes village business," he said calmly, "when a child is shamed without cause." My father stiffened. Nana turned to me first. "You have spoken with the strength of the river mothers. You defended your child not with anger but with truth." Then he looked at Kofi, whose small face was streaked with drying tears. "And you, young one, the ancestors have placed a quiet fire in you. Do not let anyone dim it." My father scoffed, but Nana's gaze sharpened like a blade. "As for you," he said, facing my father fully, "your mouth has grown too heavy with bitterness. You forget that leadership is not thunder, leadership is rain. It must nourish, not destroy." The room held its breath. "You have insulted your blood," Nana continued, "and mocked a child whose spirit shines brighter than your temper." My father opened his mouth, but Nana raised his staff. "Tonight, the ancestors have judged. If your daughter walks away, the shame is not hers. It is yours." A ripple of shock spread. My sisters gasped. My brothers lowered their eyes. For the first time in decades. My father looked, uncertain. Cliffhanger. Then Nana turned to the entire family and gave a command that changed everything, one that my father never imagined he would hear in his own compound. Nana Kwame tapped his staff once, and his voice rose with the authority of ancestors long buried. "Stand," he commanded, "if you believe this child deserves dignity." For a moment, the compound froze. No one dared move, until my aunt quietly pushed back her chair and stood. Then my eldest brother. Then my cousins. One by one, the family rose, like tall grasses bending in the same wind. Until nearly everyone except my father was on their feet. My father looked around, stunned. This was his kingdom. His domain. His throne built from years of fear and respect. But tonight, his crown slipped. Nana spoke again. "A man who insults a child insults the future. A man who mocks his daughter mocks the womb that once carried him." My father's face trembled. Whether from rage, regret, or shock, no one could tell. I lifted Kofi into my arms. His head rested on my shoulder, and for the first time that evening, he breathed without shaking. "We will leave," I said softly, "because peace is worth more than pride." I turned toward the gate. But then I heard my father's voice crack behind me. "Wait." The family turned. His hands shook. His voice wavered. I was wrong. The words he'd never spoken in his life finally broke through the wall he'd built around his heart. He lowered his head. "Forgive me. Both of you." Kofi looked at me, unsure. I whispered, "Forgiveness is strength, but wisdom is choosing boundaries." So I stepped forward just enough to say, "We forgive you, but the way you speak to my son must never happen again." My father nodded, tears glistening, tears we never thought we'd see. That night, under the Harmattan sky, a family curse broke. Not with violence. Not with exile. But with truth, courage, and the rising voice of a mother protecting her child.